I think the United States is built on, a platform of immigrants, right? All of my grandparents, or whatever were probably immigrants. Same with yours. Seeing what a minority immigrant family might go through in that type of kind of cliquey high school environment, and then to go and get a surgery to change her looks and kind of how that surgery went and what it cost her at the end, right?
Yeah.
Because the surgery didn't go fantastic at the end. I definitely think it's a movie that people should watch. I think when you sit down in there to watch it, I think you need to have an open mind and really come at it through the angle of what do these groups of people in the United States, and they're Americans, but what are they going through? I think it's an important thing to think about as we watch movies like this. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Unqualified Critic with Matt and Travis. On Monday, we watched a pre-release of the new movie Slanted. It's a movie that was written and directed by Amy Wang.
And Amy Wang is a Chinese-Australian filmmaker who grew up in the suburbs of Sydney. So her unique perspective, often as an outsider, fuels her passion for stories about, social isolation and human conditions. Yeah,
and I was thinking about this all morning, and to do this movie justice, I went on Wikipedia, and I just wanted to read basically the paragraph that Wikipedia has on this specific movie, like the description of it. Because when you and I walked out of the theater, we kind of looked at each other and we're like, "Oh my God, that was intense!" Like
yeah.
in a good way, but it was intense. So the description on Wikipedia is Asian teenager Joan Wang dreams of being the prom queen, but fears the only way to win is to look like all the past queens whose portraits line her high school halls. She hears about this company called Ethnos, a cosmetic surgery clinic that turns people the color white. Joan undergoes the procedure and wakes up a beautiful blonde teenager who's destined to be the prom queen now all of a sudden. But at what cost? Right? And so that's the description of the movie. Let's start talking about this one. When you were sitting in there, how do you feel as the movie was going
Well,
on?
at first it was weird because I just didn't know what type of movie it was, right? Because when we walked in, we kind of got there a little later, like right at the start of the movie, and here's this little girl staring at these, prom queens and stuff. So at first I was kind of like, I don't know what type of movie this is going to be. Then I thought maybe like a horror movie, based off of some of the dreams that she was having. But it was super interesting. I thought it had a great message. Yeah, it was. I just highly recommend seeing this movie without trying to spoil too much of it.
Yeah, and without getting super political or controversial, this is the way that I thought of this movie when I walked out. I thought in the United States, there is racism that exists for sure, right? We know it. If you are a racist person, right, this movie will make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Also, if you're not a racist person, like I don't feel I'm a racist person at all. There were times in the movie that I was uncomfortable, not because of what they were saying, but it's like, yeah, oh my God, people actually view some of our cities or towns, or their experience is like this. And so that's how I was looking at it. Is I was super interested in the movie. That
Yeah.
one scene at the end, the cosmetic surgery clinic, it took place, this movie, right? It took place in the Midwest somewhere. That was obvious. I don't know what the town was, but let's say Midwest, wherever. And the cosmetic surgery clinic, which turned minorities into white people so they could assimilate better into society, was right next to a strip mall store that was called Prayers and Ammo, right? I think they just kind of, all these little subtle things that they put in there about that specific area of the United States, I thought was pretty prevalent. I don't know what you thought about that.
No, definitely, and that's why it makes sense, especially with it being Amy Wang and how she grew up, in the suburbs of Sydney and everything. So how she kind of felt that isolation as an outsider. I thought she represented it really well in this movie. But like you said, it made you feel something, So I thought she did such a great job as a director, just that's exactly what a movie should do. But like you said, it will make people uncomfortable. I thought the message that the dad had for the daughter at the end was really good, without like spoiling or anything. But his whole thing was, it's we make up or as individuals the American identity versus just this ideology of what it is in a sense. But how he explains it is really well, and it was a great movie.
Yeah, and I just the whole movie, I've been thinking about it ever since. I mean, normally we do these reviews the same night that we watched it. Instead, it's Thursday. We watched it on Monday. I've just been processing this film the entire time. Like, what am I going to say about this movie? What are my thoughts about this movie? The thing that I picked up a couple of these little mannerisms within the movie, and my dad and he's a pretty conservative guy, and we were having conversations about this movie, and he picked up on a lot of these things as well. And one of the things I noticed when they were at the beginning of the movie, they show the main character who's a Chinese American high school student who speaks perfect English. Her parents speak Mandarin at the house. Her mom speaks English, but the dad doesn't speak any English at all. And they're really traditional in their house, right? Like what they cook, what they wear, all of those things are pretty traditional. So then she walks out of her house, which is in this traditional Mandarin speaking scenario, and imagine fast forward that she's in central Oklahoma or something, right? Wherever it is. Not to disparage Oklahoma, I'm just saying it was definitely in the Midwest.
Yeah.
She gets out of her car, starts walking down the street, and then a couple, like an older Caucasian couple, would be walking next to her, right? And they don't even say hi to her, right?
Yeah.
And then she goes into a store, and the person in the store won't serve her quick enough. They like serve the Caucasian lady right behind her quicker or whatever. And what they were doing is I think they were kind of putting out there in really subtle ways what a minority in some of these communities might go through.
Yeah.
Then she got that surgery, and now
Hmm.
all of a sudden she's this really beautiful blonde hair, you know, person, and everyone she walked by said hi to her. Right. In fact, one girl came up to her and said, "Oh my God, are you?" And then had like a magazine of like a supermodel, like, "Are you this person?"
Hmm.
Right. And so the difference between her reality walking around or interacting at her high school, right? When
Yeah.
she was fully Chinese and compared to she had the surgery to become white, right? Which is crazy to think that they went
It
this
was.
far to explain. Yeah. Um just the realities of what she dealt with as a Chinese student and as a white girl. I thought it was a pretty deep movie, Matt.
Yeah. No, it was super deep. It was.
And I what are your thoughts on it? We do rate movies, up to 5 stars. What's your thought on this one?
I'd give this one probably like a 4 point, between a 4.5 and a 5, somewhere in between there.
Dang. So
I would.
everybody, just
I'd
so
give it
everybody knows,
good.
that's the most stars Matt has given in a movie, I think, right? I think you've
Yeah.
always been a 4 star guy. I've been thinking about this for the last couple days, and I have to give it a 5 star review,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I thought the acting was okay. In some
Yes.
spots, I think it was really great. I think they did a really good job of painting the high school environment, kind of like
Hmm.
those movies Legally Blonde, where there's just like a whole bunch of like kind of ditzy blonde girls going around and, the cheerleaders and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I thought they
Popular.
did a really good job of painting that environment. I thought they did
Hmm.
a really good job of painting this environment of what an immigrant family might go through in the Midwest. And I gotta say, to be honest, I know it comes out on Friday, right? Or tomorrow. And I think there's a chance that, it's gonna ruffle some feathers.
Yeah.
We
It's gonna
we
get some
did say that
backlash.
when we walked out, right?
For sure. I think it's the first thing we said. We were like, that's definitely gonna cause some. It's gonna stir some things up.
Mm-hmm. And I highly recommend anyone to go and watch it. No matter what side of the aisle or scenario you're on. I will say from my standpoint, I think the United States is built on, a platform of immigrants, right? my grandparents, or whatever were probably immigrants. Same with yours, right? And seeing what a minority immigrant family might go through in that type of kind of cliquey high school environment, and then to go and get a surgery to change her looks, and kind of how that surgery went and what it cost her at the end, right?
Yeah.
Because the surgery didn't go fantastic at the end, right?
No.
And so I definitely think it's a movie that people should watch. I think when you sit down in there to watch it, I think you need to have an open mind and really come at it through the angle of what do these groups of people in the United States, and they're Americans, but what are they going through? I think it's an important thing to think about as we watch movies like this.
Yeah. It was good.
Well, Matt, dude, pretty cool again to get on this. I look forward to our next Monday one. I gotta say though, this was the most controversial-ish type of movie. We've been waiting for one that we could have a conversation like this about, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's 5-star, 4.6-star review. This is one that you should go watch and just have an open mind when you sit in there. I think the director did a fantastic job with this one.
She did.
All right, Matt, see you on Monday.
All right. We'll see you Monday.
All right, bye.
Thanks for having me.